What's good, people? CJ Williams tapping in. 2 platinum albums, one that went gold, a #1 single on Billboard 200, a career that spans over 3 decades, and even a former Guinness Book of World Records title. All of these accomplishments have been achieved by the rapper we know and love as Twista. With his signature rapid-fire raps, the Chicago native is at the very least an early innovator of the accelerated double-time flow, if not the father of it. Covering Twista has been a long-time request from our fans because his catalog of 10 studio albums has earned him a rabid following who believe his output is underrated in hip-hop media. So today, prepare for an adrenaline rush because we're diving headfirst, kamikaze style, into Twista's body of work from worst to first. Number 10, running off at the mouth. Here on Culturalist Theory, we've stressed the importance of rappers' debuts in previous episodes. Our spiel summarizes that essentially the best debuts capture the talent, hunger, and innovativeness that put an artist in pole position. The worst of these are cash grabs or from an artist still in development. Twista's 91 introduction, running off at the mouth, exists somewhere in the spectrum between crafty and cringe. But let's not fast forward past this record because it is important when recounting the history of Chicago hip-hop. So let's speed run through the bio of the artist to contextualize the album. Twista was born Carl Mitchell in '73 on Chicago's west side in the notorious K-Town neighborhood. Growing up in the Midwest at the same time hip-hop was bubbling, Twista was inspired by records coming out of New York and LA. He began as a breakdancer before rapping under the name Cavalier and slowly began to push his pen by picking up the pace of his raps. The fast rapping, or chopping as it's referred to by some, became his distinct style. He switched his stage name to Tongue Twister and earned a name battling in high school, performing at talent shows and recording demos. One of his demos landed in the lap of the then New Edition manager Steve Rifkin. Rifkin took a liking to Twista's style and signed the then 18-year-old in '91 to his new label, Loud Records. This would make Twista a double-time first, the first rapper from Chicago to get a major deal and the first rapper signed to the legendary Loud, which would be the imprint for Big Pun, The Woo, Mobb Deep, M.O.P., and 3 6 Mafia later on. He began working on his first album in '91. For promotion before release, he dropped the swift single Mr. Tongue Twister and earned the title of fastest rapper in the world from the Guinness Book, both in '92. The album finally dropped on June 9th of that year. So what were the results? It was raw but rough. Yes, Twista at only 18 had mastered most of the essentials of being a talented rapper. Great flow as exhibited on the opener Rat-a-tat-tat, storytelling ability on the reminiscent coming of age back to school, great beat selection like on Razzmatazz/Jazzmatazz, and hook making, for example, on Snap Happy. However, he lacked what would make him a great rapper later, something unique to say. Throughout the LP, he drops pro-black Islamic messaging like X-Clan, braggadocious bars like Big Daddy Kane, and puts style over substance as any novice MC would. The aforementioned single, the title track, and songs like No Peace Sign, None of Y'all Can Hang, and Say What substantiate these claims. Now, to be fair, only one teen rapper in history dropped a classic. You can check out our Nas list here, and even he was still coming into his own there. Nevertheless, Running Off at the Mouth sold 100,000 copies, considered a flop back then, and was notable for 2 things: helping launch one of the seminal rap labels of the '90s and being a breakthrough moment for Chicago hip-hop. Number 9, Crook County. The gap in between Twista's first and last LP is a quarter century, an eon in rap years. Through the changing tides of trends and styles that have come and gone, it's a testament to Twista's talent that he has withstood the test of time. 2017's Crook County, a play on words of Cook County where Chicago rests, was his 3rd indie release on his label Get Money Gang and his 10th overall LP. At 43 years old upon release, his tongue is still sharp and enough to chop like a helicopter. Unlike many OGs, his signature voice hasn't deteriorated over time, and he still has that edge that is usually lost to age. With 9 of the 13 tracks having features from mostly younger underground artists from the go and production handled by similar beat makers, this album is for those who wish to hear Twista over contemporary trap beats with the young bloods. Standout songs like these are the smooth yet menacing Mortuary featuring Vic Spencer, the Smokers' anthem Happy Days, and the soulful Just In Case featuring the boy Illinois, all produced by relative unknown Zinzan Beats. As for the singles, Twista shows he still has the chops to make hit serenades for the radio and the ladies with the Jeremiah Assistant Next to You, and street jams with the Zaytoven-produced Baddest featuring fellow Chicagoan Cap One. On all of the tracks mentioned, Twista raps with ferocity. However, Crook County lacks depth outside of the topics of materialism, murder, and mayhem mostly. An exception to this would be Hollywood. Over a haunting beat, Twista spits about how he struggled to get to the top, so now homies from around the way say that he thinks they're better than them. It's more mature than the other songs that clog the track list where Twista sounds like he's trying to prove he's still down. Crook County is for those who want boilerplate trap music from a lyricist or for big fans of Twista who just can't get enough. However, we'd have been served better if Twist showed more growth in his topics since he's seen so much come and go. Number 8, Adrenaline Rush 2007. After a quick time with Slime on the Drink Champs podcast, Nori asked Twista about each album in his catalog. When Adrenaline Rush 2007 was mentioned, Twista himself admitted that the title doesn't match the music and he would change the name if he could do it all again. He said that he was still able to rap his ass off, but was in a shitty space creatively. It is validating to know that the artist sees how incongruous the sequel is to the original's intensity and conciseness, because we would agree. We wouldn't go as far as to say that this CD is a weed plate, because there are flashes of greatness that evoke the same feeling of the 97 Adrenaline Rush. Firstly, the skits that loosely tell a crime narrative throughout the album, like the first, are back. Secondly, many of the tracks are victorious in capturing that Adrenaline Rush magic, like Charged, I Ain't That Nigga, No Pistols featuring the duo Speed Not Mobsters, and Creep Fast, which has a stellar contribution from T-Pain. All of these tracks were produced by Chicago underground beatmaker Toxic, and they incorporate semi-automatic speed raps with gangster lyrics over thumping, high-intensity beats. Yet for every one of those tracks that encapsulates the essence of Twista's greatness, we get records that are glaring examples of him trying to reach mass appeal. If you listen closely, you can hear the Atlantic Records A&R whispering in Twista's ear to make a pop hit on the Jazzy Faye and CeeLo assisted Say Say, the boredom in Pharrell's voice on the unoriginal Give It Up, and the mixtape Wheezy phoning in his 20th lean-induced verse of That Night on Whip Game proper. The only collaboration made for radio that sounds organic is the melodic reunion of Kells and Twista on Love Rehab, though we could have done without Twista singing. One of the saving graces on this album comes toward the end with the Bone Thugs and Harmony collab Ain't No Hoe produced by Cuzzo. Crazy and Lazy Bone deliver excellent verses, as well as Twista over a cloudy, ethereal beat rich in melody. The track finally put to rest any beef that existed between these pillars in Midwest rap music, who both pioneered chopping but feuded over years as to who started it all. Their collaboration lives up to all expectation and is one of the most replayable songs on here, though a slot save for Busy would have been the cherry on top. Adrenaline Rush 2007 was Twista's third and final album on Atlantic. It debuted in the top 10 after its September 18th release on Billboard, but after doing 41K in the first week, it quickly fell off the charts. There was a lot of bootlegging into that Piff and Pirate Day phase of hip-hop, wasn't there? Adrenaline Rush 2007 is a step above his debut and Crook County, because there are a handful of songs here that would have been included in a Twista Best Of compilation, but earns its number 8 spot for its over-reliance on big-name features to cross over and lack of cohesion. Number 7, The Perfect Storm. The legendary Traxster is a producer from Chicago who earned his title and doesn't get enough recognition. Similar to how Common and Twista were the first MCs paving the way for Chicago, Sam Traxster Lindley, along with No ID, was crafting the foundational soundscape for the early Windy City rappers. He's been behind the boards for many do-or-die records like Po Pimp, and fully produced 2 of Twista's most lauded albums. Traxstar and Twista have chemistry together like Nas and Hit Boy or YG and Mustard. When they're locked in the studio together, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna win. Well, maybe we need to adjust those stats after running back 2010's Perfect Storm again and again. Perfect Storm has the most amount of Traxster beats on a Twista project since 97's Adrenaline Rush. 7 tracks out of 11 has his touch. His signature style of synth-heavy beats with dark melodies and syncopated rhythms is evident on the strong opener Darkness. Along with rapper Direct, Twista has the perfect cinematic backdrop to spit like a man possessed. Twista comes hard on every intro to his albums, but knowing that this is a mostly Traxster production, the expectations are different. Then comes Up to Speed, another track that bangs. While Tight Mike made the grandiose beat here, we're still off to a good start as Twista flexes his lyricism and his chopping ability at full capacity. Okay, we're on a roll. After that, Twista, Traxster, and America's premier Pyru, Chris Brown, join forces on Make a Movie. It's a great R&B/rap record that's meant for the airwaves and the bedroom. A song-style format Twista and Traxster mastered with previous hits Get It Wet and Wetter. And herein lies the problem. Too much of this album sounds like Twista and Traxster trying to repackage the past product. Perfect Storm came after Twista dropped his hit single Wetter in 2010, which is a sensual R&B and rap record. When you also take into account that that many of the most popular records from Traxtor and Twista have the same vibe, and Traxtor was having success producing Mariah Carey's One and Only and Ludacris' My Chick Bad with Nicki Minaj, it seemed like they were going all in on the drills that were paying the bills. Now, we won't fault the brothers too much for following the money, but the music suffered as a result. For example, the chopped and screwed hook and bumping kicks on I Do featuring Little Play sound like a draft of Ludacris' My Chick Bad. It doesn't match Twista's style at all, and the song is devoid of soul or substance despite Twista's lyrical ability. If you're really into Twista songs for the ladies, then you'll find a lot to cherish on this album because he services that sector several times. 2012 featuring singer Tia London about making love to the world ends, Sweating featuring crooner Scotty Music about making love till you perspire, or Call the Police featuring Mr. Indoor Outdoor Pool Ray J about making love until the cops come, are records that you can put on to get your grind on. That's not even counting the bonus tracks. Give It To Me, Go, Pussy Whipped, Bad Girl featuring Lloyd, and Panties Off are here as well. Listen to in a vacuum, many of these are dope, notably Hating You featuring Grits and Panties Off. But here at CT, we evaluate albums in totality, and this body of work has an excessive amount of serenades. This album is a step above Adrenaline Rush 2007 because there are quite a lot of songs that are engaging on their own and sound authentically Twista. However, it goes overboard delivering the rap/R&B records that were successful in the past instead of creating something new organically. Number 6, Kamikaze. Now, before you cut the episode off, let us explain. The word kamikaze is Japanese for divine wind. Originally, it referred to an elite class of Japanese fighter pilots during World War II who flew suicide missions into American naval pilots in the Pacific Theater. The reasoning behind the deadly tactic is rooted in Japanese samurai culture, which teaches that death is more honorable than defeat. Now the word means to dive headfirst into something with reckless abandon at full force to succeed. This makes it a fitting title for Twista's 4th album because that's exactly what he does here. The most shine Twista ever got at one time was with this album. For the masses, they may have considered this his debut. Only by divine intervention do artists get a second wind blown back in their careers, and it's even rare for that to happen twice. After 97's reinvention on Adrenaline Rush, Twista went back underground and released compilations and collaboration projects independently. This put him into conflict with Traxtor's label Creators Way, which said he was violating their contract. Twista said in his Drink Champs interview that he has, quote, years of his rap career shaved off due to legal drama. He would get his chance to break through again after settling the issue in 2001. He then inked a new deal with Atlantic and linked up with the college dropout Kanye West. We've covered before about how slow jams came about on our episode on Jamie Foxx. You can check that out here, but essentially Twista was the first to be put on the song and the record was built around him and the beat. While Twista was working on his 4th album in 2003, Slow Jams was released as the first single for his album and Kanye's 2nd single from College Dropout. It goes to number 1 on Billboard 200, making Twista and Kanye simultaneously the first Chicago MCs with the number 1 song in the country. It set Twista up in a major way for Kamikaze to explode. Sensing that this was his moment, he goes for gusto, trying to cover all bases. The album delivers tremendous performances from Twista on every verse, a variation of producers who bring different sounds and elements that complement Twista's electricity, and features from other artists who bring their distinctiveness. When analyzing the year 2004 in hip-hop, Kamikaze stands out as one of the best mainstream releases along with T.I.'s Urban Legend, Wayne's First Carter, Jada's Kiss of Death, M's Encore, and Lloyd Banks' Hunger for More. There are excellent songs on here that still sound great despite time and trends passing. The triumphant and soulful Get At Me, produced by Toxic, bangs. Of course, all 3 Pink Polo era Kanye records are magnificent. Slow Jams, Overnight Celebrity, and the Mafioso storytelling track One Last Time. Twista shows his versatility and cleverness on Drinks, the West Coast infused club bop that has a saucy beat reminiscent of DJ Quick, where Twista creatively compares women to cocktails. On top of that, the softer R&B records meant for radio still resonate, those being both versions of So Sexy, featuring and produced by the most famous singer at Butner Federal Prison. However, similar to the 19% hit rate of Kamikaze Pilots, there are some misses. But Donkey Donk is a jazzy fizzle product shizzle that sounds silly now even if it bounced then. Higher featuring Ludacris and Like a 24 featuring T.I. are as fresh as year-old milk. Plus, both versions of the song Hope, famous for being played in the film Coach Carter, are disingenuously squeaky clean cuts, even though we prefer the Faith Evans take over CeeLo's. Sorry if we just dissed any song you nostalgically cherish, but music has to mean more than memories. Many of the records that have not held up well are overshadowed by fan favorite Kill Us All. Rapping like he's trying to verbalize a jihadi's last motives and moments, this song will make your hair stand up on end as Twista demolishes this high-octane instrumental from Chicago's Toxic. Kamikaze debuted at number 1 not only on the rap charts but on the pop charts, sold 1 million copies, and made Twista a household name in the early 2000s. It earns the number 5 place because nostalgia can't save some of the poorly aged tracks from killing us all. Before we get to the top 5 albums on our list, we can't speed through this without mentioning Twista's terrific track record as a featured artist. He's got standout verses on Do or Die Still Po Pimpin' and Do You, Puffy's Is This the End, Jay-Z's Is That Your Chick, the Slept On Like a Pimp remix from David Banner, and Trick Daddy's Let's Go. Mike Jones's gold record Cuddy Buddy was assisted to success with Twista's words as well as the equally successful Woosah from Jeremiah. If we had to pick the best of these features, we have to ride with Do or Die's breakout single 1996 Po Pimp. Flowing for 24 bars over the rhythm of the hi-hat, Twista spits a verse so phenomenal it pushed the single and album Picture This to cult classic status, a gold plaque, and resurrected his own career after briefly fading into obscurity. But that's our take. Which do you think is the best feature he's done? Number 5, category F5. As we get closer to the end of this list, we believe it's important to talk about the city that brought us Twista. Chicago from 1890 to 1982 was the second largest city in America, attracting many waves of migrants within the US and immigrants from abroad. Years of systemic segregation caused different ethnic and racial groups to congregate primarily in certain sections of the city, resulting in people having strong affinities for their neighborhoods, which later morphed into street gangs. Irish, Polish, Sicilian, Puerto Rican, Mexican, and black street crews formed for various reasons, some noble, some not, but the common denominator is that many of them profit from illicit trades. From taking advantage of bootlegging during Prohibition to capitalizing during the continued war on drugs, Chicago has produced many famous gangsters like Al Capone, Jeff Fort, and Larry Hoover, as well as notorious gangs like the Latin Kings, the Almighty Gaylords, Black Disciples, and Gangster Disciples. Chicago's history isn't all doom and gloom. It's a city rich in culture and beauty, but it does have a reputation for being one of the most violent places in the United States due to its constantly high murder rate year after year. So when Twista comes on American Gangsta from his 2009 album Category 5 and says one time for the US for turning my niggas to gangsters, and you can't be mad at what you made us, it's real. When Twista gets into his Chicago bag, rapping like an effortless veteran with the talent he possessed as a kid trying to come out of K-Town, he's nearly untouchable. Twista has spoken about getting day jobs in between dropping albums. Now he's a certified firearms instructor, but on here it sounds as if he went back into the trenches after Adrenaline Rush 2007 flopped. Category F5, the most powerful type of tornado, was the first independent album on Twista's label in conjunction with Capitol Records, and listening to it feels like you're hearing a worldly talented rapper making the transition out of the trap by investing all that dope money in a rap. There's just something so needless yet endearing when you hear a multi-platinum rapper say, if I gotta feed my family, I'ma sacrifice my body, that you'd almost forget that this is Twista. If not for the last line, you already know I be going kamikaze. This line comes from Wanna See 'Em Bust featuring Liffy Strokes with an airy beat from the terrific producer Toxic, and it slides. Those hint in the lyrics to the hustlers with the hunger for more on songs Hustler and I Got People, as well as the aforementioned ones, make this album have a certain grit. There's an edge and authentic roughness to Category F5, from the mix, to the beats, to the features that make it engaging when you play it front to back, including those bonus tracks. You're surprised when Boosie's high-pitched voice comes on the weed song Fire. You're pulled into the sentimental stories weaved by Twista on Talk to Me. You hate to love Twista and R. Kelly linking up again on the sauntering Yellow Light. Then you're enthralled by the guilty pleasure that is Walking on Ice featuring the Fat Gucci Man and OJ the Juice Man. Wetter with Erica Siobhan is so good even Beyonce had to cuff it. Now sure, Billionaire with Busta Rhymes sounds like a worse version of A-Rap Money, but doesn't Your Body with Do or Die capture that magic that their best collaborations with Twista have? Static Major comes with the dope beat and mellow hook on Gotta Give Me One, while Twista wows with words. Maybe the Akon assisted On Top or the Birthday song isn't your taste, but you can't front on Twista dominating a Timberland beat on Jump Off or the perfect reunion of Twista and Kanye on Alright. This might be a controversial pick to place Category F5 in the top 5, but Twista's sly smile when this album was brought up on Drink Champs shows that he knew his ode to Weed Can't Live Without You and the insane gangsta lyricism on Clappin' would one day be appreciated by real heads who researched his catalog. That day has come, and Category F5 has rightfully earned a number 5 slot on this list. Number 4, Dark Horse. A little known competitor that emerges to win or succeed, although their victory is unexpected or unlikely, is a dark horse. In an interview with All Hip Hop, Twista said he was inspired to title his 9th album this because he felt like a dark horse in the industry and found similarities with the Beatles guitarist George Harrison, who was often behind the scenes quietly contributing a lot of the music. This 2014 album was independently released on Twista's GMG label and is a return to his hardcore lyrical style without the frills of major label polish. If you're looking for the Twista album that evokes the dark feeling of his Underground Resurrection album, but with more modern production, this is the one. Opening with the title track Dark Horse, Twista tears it up, rapping like he's the overachiever who's forever the underdog, getting omitted from GOAT conversations. The bitterness fuels the fire for most of the album's many highlights. Powerful performances are plenty here, notably on the mafioso I Am Such a Mobster, the demonically possessed Devil's Angel, which is Kill Us All on steroids, the Cosmic Beast, where Twista takes his lyrical ability to another galaxy, and the slaps for the traps, One More Jug, where Twista whips that crack on the track. You can tell on this album that for most of Twista's career, he's actually been holding back his actual powers. But on Dark Horse, he's not scared to go Super Saiyan and shine in all his glory. However, this could be polarizing depending on what type of hip-hop fan you are. If you're into the heavy metal equivalent of hip-hop, where MCs rip it on the mic as hard, loud, and fast as possible, you will absolutely love the high-intensity Crisis featuring Kansas City legend Tech 9. Both mainstays of the Midwest go bonkers trying to outdo each other, chopping at velocities that break the sound barrier. It's astounding and we love it, but we also understand that this is an acquired taste. Others that fall into this vein are the aforementioned I'm Such a Mobster, Devil's Angel, and Beast. It's music made to astound other high-caliber rappers or hardcore rap fans. Play these at the wrong place or time, and Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia will magically appear and say stop scaring the hoes. Production on the album is bass-heavy and up-tempo. Most of the beats were provided by Traxster and other Chicago natives like DJ Ty Mike, P Flaws, and Low Key, and they deliver a proper soundscape mostly. Dark Horse reached number 40 on Billboard 200 and didn't sell that much, most likely due to it being an indie release that didn't get much promo. That's a shame because it contains a lot of Twista returning to the darkness recesses of his style, attacking the mic without inhibition. Number 3, The Day After. 21 months after releasing his breakthrough album Kamikaze, Twista quickly followed up with The Day After, October 2005. The 5th album in his collection was highly acclaimed by critics at the time. Magazine and Los Angeles Times gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. Rolling Stone and Hip Hop DX said 4 out of 5, and AllMusic actually gave it a perfect score. Were they being hyperbolic with their ratings? We'd say a bit, but they're not too far off the mark for praising the album's perks. On the opening song that shares the name of the album, Twista raps about surviving a deadly car crash that ejected everyone from his tour van and took the life of his bodyguard. Selena Johnson from Kanye's All Falls Down croons powerful affirmations while Twista tears through the symphonic beat provided by Toxic. He takes credit for 5 of the 15 tracks on the standard version of The Day After, and each track showcases the chemistry he has with Twista because they're the best records here. The high-octane bravado on Check That Hoe, the pimp-type melodic chopping on Chocolate Fees and Red Bones featuring Johnny P, the Battle of the Sexes with Notorious K.I.M. on Do Wrong, and the murder music that's Heartbeat are all records where Toxic and Twista make magic. Honestly, if it weren't for Adrenaline Rush, Toxic might be the best producer for Twista's style when you look at the songs they've done together. But we digress. The Neptunes provide 2 fire records, those being the Romantic Tease When I Get Home, where Jamie Foxx reunites with Twista, and the Motivational Lavish, where Pharrell drops 24 bars trying to chop like Twista as they both tell us that the sky's the limit. Most tracks here sound meaningful and unforced, especially the deep cuts like the semi-chopped and screwed groove Holding Down the Game and Had to Call featuring No Limit rapper Fiend under the alias Sleepy Eye Jones. While there's a lot to love about The Day After, some of the tracks simply don't fit in the sequence of the album, such as the horrendous Hit the Floor featuring Mr. 305, produced by Mr. Collie Park, where Pitbull's bars bore and Twista tries his best to make this interesting. Another one that doesn't fit is I'm Out Here featuring Juvenile and the Speed Knot Mobsters, which just lands as a bland street anthem. These few missteps are forgivable because most of this gold-selling album is dope. It was more than worthy of peaking at number 2 on Billboard 200 and frankly should be platinum by now. It earns the edge of the top 3 because a few records do sound a bit dated and we shouldn't have been deprived of another Backpack era Kanye collaboration right after the success of Slow Jams. Number 2, Resurrection. After Twista's dismal sales and cold reception to his 91 debut, he was dropped drop from Loud Records. The then 19-year-old dejectedly returned to K-Town, Chicago. Rumor has it he worked as a barber and a security guard to support himself while he went back to the drawing board on his rap dreams. To then literally add insult to injury, the notoriety Twista gained for his fast rap style earned him the ire of another MC known for fast rapping, Trench from the group Naughty by Nature. On their 1993 album, Trench takes shots at Twista on the song Hood Comes First, with the line Tricks on Board and a lot of quick tongue frauds, as well as on the track Sleeping on Jersey, with the bar You could tongue twist your ass back to Chicago. Imagine being a young man who was just rejected by the industry and hip-hop fans by and large, while the guys making hip-hop hooray are on TV dissing you all over their platinum-selling album. That would be enough to squash the hopes of most MCs, but not Twista. Embodying the grit and spirit that comprises everything great about hip-hop, he goes the independent route with the finite resources he has, along with his day ones to rise from the dead with Resurrection in '94. Entirely produced by the legendary Trackster, along with his day one rap partners, the Speed Knob Mobsters, making sporadic ad-libs and features, Twista raps at a slower speed over hauntingly dark, bass-heavy boom-bap beats with pure venom. He reveals here that his style was not all flair because when the raps aren't rapid, you realize that he's a wildly witty lyricist. On the title track that opens the album, Twista spits with veracity about being left for dead by disbelievers who counted him out, while throwing some light jabs at Trench. Then after that comes the Suicide remix, a hard-body head nodder that's a full-fledged flailing of Trench with F-bombs aimed at Naughty by Nature. Hints that a large chip is on Twista's shoulder pepper the entire record when you listen closely to the lyrics of each song, but that's the fuel that fires up the best work from this flame spitter. Animosity Kills, Reenact with a Mic, Return, Dirt on the Down Low, and Shadowboxing are all hardcore, raw, pure hip-hop records that you instantly love because they feel so familiar yet so fresh with their stripped down instrumentals and Twista's ability to make rewindable verses. He brings the homies along for the posse cut One Shot, One Kill, where B-Hype and the Speed Knob Mobsters all bring the flavor, and Twista resurrects his trademark double time style for the jazzy scat like that, which makes you appreciate his style even more. However, the standout record is Street Paranoia, painting a picture of a blighted, dingy, dangerous Chicago where gangsters, guns, and grime own the streets. Twista raps about the mental anguish this type of society wrecks on the mind of the young black male. It's one of Twista's most slept on records, just like this album, which only had a release in '94 in Chicago due to him being an independent artist, and another Chicagoan, Common, releasing an album titled Resurrection only 2 weeks prior. Some detractors will argue this album doesn't deserve the number 2 slot because it's a boom bap rap album from the era when the style was the norm. Yes, we agree with that description, but we are not arguing that a great album has to reinvent the wheel to be one of an artist's best. We are arguing that this album is enjoyable because it hits most, if not all, of the marks of what makes hip-hop enjoyable. Great beats, masterful rapping, and captivating subject matter. Plus, the story behind this record is inspirational. When the world counted Twista out, left him for dead, dissed him, and all arrows pointed to him being another statistic, he grabbed the reins of his destiny, made something out of nothing, and fought back. If that's not hip-hop, then what do you call that? Number 1, Adrenaline Rush. Very few rappers dominate a beat so well that it's almost blasphemous for anyone else to rap over it, and it becomes synonymous with their name. You know Hov is about to spit that Wonder Rhymer shit as soon as you hear a distorted Nas sample from World Is Yours repeat Presidents to Represent Me. Just as well, you know when you hear these 6 guitar notes? That Twista is about to jump over the edge. Like watching Scarface getting shot up on the ledge, Adrenaline Rush is a semi-cinematic experience that is as high intensity as it is enthralling. Released in '97, 3 years after Resurrection and 5 years removed from his debut, Twista re-embraces his unique style, now in an era where the double time flow is no longer stigmatized, with more maturity under his belt, fully in his bag, and when the instrumental styles have finally caught up to his pace. Throughout Adrenaline Rush, Twista puts on a clinic on how to double time rap while simultaneously making memorable music. The constancy of this album is held together by the skits that loosely tell the narrative of a murder and its ripple effects on the K-Town community, weaving together the songs that feel like they're bringing to life the great Iceberg Slim or Donald Gowan's novels. The pimps, working girls, drug dealers, hitters, and regular Joes feel like they're all represented and speak peeking through the album. And most importantly, the rapping is phenomenal. On Adrenaline Rush, Death Before Dishonor, Overdose, and Unsolved Mystery, Twista blacks out like an eclipse, with each song enlivened by their up-tempo, layered beats, but also by the pockets Twista delivers in them. On It Feels So Good, he puts a Chi-Town twist on Ice Cube's Today Was a Good Day, which vividly paints a pic of what his life is like while flowing as cold as the hawk in a Chicago winter. The Speed Knot Mobsters and other cohorts make solid appearances on Mobster's Anthem and No Remorse, where their slowed down flows, contrasting with Twista's torrents, mesh well together. Both versions of Emotions are R&B records that are pimp tight yet ready for radio, and of course Get It Wet with Femme Fatale, Miss Kane, is the ultimate panty dropper. The song on Adrenaline Rush that'll turn an atheist into a believer is Corrupt World. This uncharacteristically introspective record deals with the nihilism that affects the minds of those who see lives lost regularly. This is Twista's Never Seen a Man Cry and shows that he's more than an MC who can make words sound good but has something meaningful to say. When Adrenaline Rush was released, it was a sleeper hit. It peaked at number 77 on Billboard 200, and the second single, Get It Wet, only reached number 96. With very little radio or music video play though, the record went gold in 97. A few years later, when he had his second breakthrough into the mainstream, people became more interested in his back catalog. What they found was Adrenaline Rush. After 22 years, in 2019, Adrenaline Rush finally got the commercial certification that matched his street status, a platinum plaque. Adrenaline Rush undoubtedly deserves the top spot because not only is it an excellent rap album, but it shows that Twista exemplifies that setbacks are only setups for a major comeback. Hey, if you enjoyed this list, you'll definitely dig the ranking we did on a group of super swift spitters, Bone Thugs and Harmony. Check that out along with our Midwest Swang playlist for other artists that don't hail from the coast. It's your man CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory. It's been real. Peace.